I want to talk to you now about this concept of robust margins. We can sell a lot of product. That's not a problem. We can establish a price in the marketplace which will clear the products. We can put ourselves in a position where we can actually have great potential for growth. Okay, now here's the problem that most people miss. You've got to finance the growth. You should run some numbers. I do this often with my students when I was teaching. I would say, what do you look like at 10 times the size? What does the organisation look like, and what is it going to cost you to get there? Now look at how much is being contributed from the gross margin or the gross profit on your products to finance that growth. Now, if you're growing at 5%, maybe even 10% per annum, you potentially can do that with internal funding. As soon as you lift beyond 10% and you start to move towards 20% or 40%, it's virtually impossible to generate enough funds for you to finance growth. And so now the fundamental constraint of your growth becomes access to finance. So what we have to do is we have to mitigate that as much as possible. And we mitigate the problem of access to finance by moving to high margins. Now, you'll say, well, we'd love to put our prices up, but we get lots of resistance. Okay? What we have to acknowledge is the price is the result of all the other decisions that we've made. Have I caught the wave, and therefore is demand exceeding supply? Am I selling to a compelling need, in which case price is not sensitive? Do I have a strong competitive advantage, in which case I don't have price pressure? Do I have a distribution channel which will easily take me to my customer? Have I got strong competitive advantage? Now, the product innovation growth potential leads me to establish a price. So if I satisfy all those elements that give me high innovation growth potential, you end up with high prices. And you end up with a premium price. And with a premium price, you get a lot of advantages. The first thing you do is you can build a war chest. And the war chest can be used to acquire products. It can be used to fund R&D, fund innovation. It can be used to fight off competitors. It can be used as a buffer to ride down the price curve as competitors come in, because you've got further to go than your competitors because of all of these other characteristics. And fundamentally, it can fund growth. So putting yourself into a position where you've got high margins because of all these other things that you've done is fundamental to achieving growth. Now, you may not get there completely if you've got very high growth, but the good news is that when you see all the other elements, the compelling need, the competitive advantage, the innovation, some of those organisation elements, actually raising the venture capital, raising the finance, raising the private equity is so much easier to do. This is an end result of everything else you've done, but it also means that you'll easily get the finance. It also means that your time to cash flow positive is much, much lower. It's a way of mitigating risk, because once we're cash flow positive, we can now afford to make mistakes. We've got a buffer where we can try things out. If we're in an emerging market which is still to stabilise, high margins will let us play a bit before other people catch up. And so we can play a bit and we can find out what's working and what's not working to a point where we can then be first to capture whatever the trend is in the marketplace. So, questions? Have you asked the question? I had this amazing experience when I was selling financial software products back in the mid-80s, where because I was a CPA and most of my development team had accounting degrees, we had great depth of knowledge of how to build financial reporting products. And our first products out the door not only worked, but they were really well used by customers who could see the depth of experience that had gone in and the accounting knowledge that had gone into building the products. And we were at the time, very small company, scrambling to get market, so our products weren't particularly expensive. We kept getting knocked out of business against our larger and more expensive competitors. And so we used to start asking our prospects, why did we lose the deal? Well, you were never evaluated. Well, why weren't we evaluated? Well, because at your price point, you can't possibly have the functionality we're looking for. They didn't bother to look at the functionality because they made the assumption that it was at the wrong price point. So we trebled the price and we doubled our sales rate. Okay, same functionality. You simply need to ask the question. Benchmark yourself against the competition. Where are you sitting? And don't be the least cost provider, because if you are, that means you've got lack of differentiation. You need high differentiation, high competitive advantage, solving a compelling need where price is not the basis of the decision of the customer. In one of my books, you can see this in Ultimate Exits, which is freely available on drexit.net. There's a whole chapter in there on what I call process improvement around decreasing costs and improving revenue. And continuous process improvement is one of the fundamental ways of doing that. It's to examine each part of your business and incrementally make minor improvements so that over time you gradually get higher productivity, lower costs. You can also use it on the revenue side to increase revenue. Benchmarking is exactly a similar technique where you find things you do well and things that you don't do so well and you improve those. Have a look at overseas industry. Where are they pricing? What are they doing? How are they creating customer value? Is there some additional things that you can do to create additional customer value? Okay, question, actions. Do stuff. We take too much for granted. Because we think we've got the right price, because customers buy from us, we don't question the price. If we do some innovations to our product or process or create customer value, we often leave the price alone. But why not ask the question whether we should increase our price? Why not ask the customers what they'd be willing to pay more for? Now, it doesn't need to be in the product that you create value. You can create value through service. You can create value through better support. You can create value through engagement. But when are they willing to pay more? So ask the question. Form focus groups. Let them talk about their experience and what value is to them and how that you create value for them.